ABSL Summit. Beyond Tomorrow. Building a Sustainable Future.
We will have a pleasure, and it's my honor, to invite to the stage Professor Krzysztof Jajuga, who will tell us about some ethical aspects and some boundaries we should not cross while using the data. Professor, welcome on stage.
Good morning. I hope that you could hear me now. Okay, I'm now on. Okay, thank you very much. I'm really pleased to be here with you and to give some introductory remarks. It's my pleasure and honor. So thank you for invitation. 2 years ago on the ABSL Summit, I also moderated panel about basically artificial intelligence, stuff like this. But at this time, nobody talked about ethics. But now I think we have to start to talk about ethics. And my name is Krzysztof Jajuga. I have 2 jobs, basically. One job, which is paid job, is professor at university, Wrocław University of Economics and Business. The second one, which is volunteer job, I'm the president of CFA Society Poland. I have been doing this for 15 years now, maybe 16. Okay, so I like this very much. Okay, so let's start to talk about ethical boundaries. I don't know the ethical boundaries of technology, but I think we should take care of this now. I know the panel will be about this also, about the data-driven business, basically, and about something that you called value chain. The value chain is the word that is used very often. But now I think most business is driven by data. So we have to think about data aspects in value chain. And my perspective is that I pick up 3 elements of this value chain. The first one is the acquisition of data, especially big data. Second one is analyzing of data, and then giving insights from this analysis to our peers and customers, especially clients and customers applied in business. Okay. My main statement is about this, that ethics should be included in this value chain, and compliance with ethical principles in the development of widely understood artificial intelligence. We are now in the very first step of artificial intelligence, is a fundamental condition for the protection of social values. And I think since 2008, speaking about social values, since financial crisis, speaking about ethical values became not only fashionable, but became also very important. So I think that now we are in the stage that we have to think about the social values driven by the data-driven business. Of course, there are very, very many innovations in technology. I think, again, I mentioned using this concept of value chain. I think that 3 types of technology innovations, let's say, should be important. First of all, how do we acquire big data? And actually, this is a very important topic because numbers are speaking for themselves. In last, let's say, until 2003, there's estimation that humankind generated about 5 exabytes of data. Exabyte, this is 10 to the power 18 of bytes. And now this amount of data is generated certainly in less than 2 days, but I even saw the estimation that this is less than the time of our panel here, which because it's like 45 minutes. It's something between. So it's important, and substantial part of this data, as you know, may be not useful and maybe not even processed. There's a lot of dirty data, which are not reliable. There's a lot of fake data, and there's a lot of dark data also, which are being acquired but never used. Again, the most important part, data useful and data which will be for the benefit of society. Then, of course, we have machine learning methods, which is definitely, you know, the second part, data analytics. It's called machine learning methods, but actually these methods have been known for, I know them, these methods. I used them, you know, 30 or 40 years ago. I know that they've been used since 1960s at least. The problem was that they couldn't be used for big data because of technology. Now, the supercomputer in 1985, supercomputer Cray, is much slower. It's 30 times slower than processor in your smartphone. Okay, so that's reality. And then finally, robo-advisory. So insights from analysis is being given to customers, which are being, you know, advised by, okay, some algorithms. So even people say now there is a danger of algocracy. So that algorithms are driven business and they are driven behavior of people, etc., etc. And I think when they look at the most important, I'm going to come into risk issue in a moment, but when I'm going to come into these types of risk, the main type of risk is of course still climate risk, weather risk, and stuff like this. Second is technology risk. The technology may go in the direction that we don't like. And risk is understood in two ways. On one hand, of course, we think usually the risk is something wrong, something bad. We should manage this, we should cope with this, we should handle. And risk as a threat here means that if there is unethical behavior, certainly it will lead to losing reputation. Sooner or later, I think with the speed of changes in the world, now I would say sooner, right? Because changes are so fast. Secondly, but I think also risk is an opportunity. Definitely. Without risk, we wouldn't have development. And risk as opportunity is that in longer term, and now longer term might be much shorter than longer term, 10 years ago, leads to the gain in competitive advantage. So those who will be following these rules will be considered definitely as the better companies, etc., etc. I give you three examples, three areas basically of these types of unethical issues. The first one is about the data acquisition, and of course the example is very well known because this is social rating. It's coming basically from China. I looked here that basically in some provinces of China, people are required to download two types of applications. I cannot read this in Chinese, but I say one type is web cleansing and the other one is citizen security. Citizen security, that's a funny name as for China. And they are forced to have this in their smartphones. And then, of course, okay, Big Brother is watching, right? So that's the first thing. And I think that two rules are broken here. First one is invasion of privacy, of course. And second one is discrimination, because then this rating leads to, to putting people in some kind of scale and having privileges or something like this to them. The next example is, of course, machine learning methods. These are black boxes, basically, and unfortunately, they are also black boxes and unexplainable also for those who are creating them, because I understand they are black boxes for the end users, but also, unfortunately, for some creators. So machine learning, they are being processing some data, and especially what is wrong, it's operation against unintended purpose. So the algorithm serves not for the purpose of client, but for the purpose of creator of this. And we saw this basically not so much with the use of computer algorithms, but in 2007 during financial crisis, where these methods were not explained, these valuation methods especially for the securities, and actually they work against those who invested in them, etc., etc. And the last example is the robo-advisory, when there are some unexplainable, also unjustifiable outcomes. And I give you one example here. This is a very famous example, relatively recent one. The person is called Steve Jobs in a skirt. You know what I mean, probably. Elizabeth Holmes is her name. And the company is called Theranos. And they said that they advise people by taking one drop of a blood and performing more than 240 tests, starting from sugar test up to genome map even, right? So that was not only fake and not only unethical, but that was of course definitely illegal. Many unethical behaviors, they become also illegal. So these are examples, and I will state several principles, because now people started to talk, and not only to talk, but to realize kind of ethical principles. And I would say when I look at different ethical principles, I thought that I can classify them into three groups. The one group are principles related to the privacy of people, just to the persons especially. The next type of principle should be related to the creators of the software that is being used. And finally, the last one is end user, who should challenge these things and should understand the principles. I think they are mentioned here, so I just go through them very briefly. I just mentioned one very good case because I presented some bad cases, but there are also ethical things. Relatively recent one is related to at least 3 companies, very well-known. Google Cloud, I think there's Microsoft, and there's also IBM, and they rejected some offer to create new technology which will be directed toward customers, and technology very advanced, but going into very advanced looking at emotions, very advanced facial recognition, and very advanced voice recognition. Despite that will bring probably monetary benefits, they refuse this. So this is a good case. This is a good pro case, actually, not unethical, but ethical. So looking at these principles, I'm going to finish very soon. I would say there's some most important. The first one is that, well, I'm still using AI here, although my understanding is that with the 3 levels of AI, we are still in the first level. So actually, this is solving complicated maybe, but very structured task by the computer. So we are not on the level of general artificial intelligence, which could be introduced when we know actually how the brain functions, but we don't know this yet. And finally, this one which goes beyond the brain, and computer, robot, automat will behave, will show emotions, will create art, but consciously art, and then make decisions, make their own decisions. Now, everything could be done if there is written in the program. Okay, so AI systems should benefit individuals, society, and the environment, respecting human rights. Very important is discrimination. There was a system which was designed by Amazon. They used 500 algorithms, screening CVs, that was in 2014, screening CVs of people. Unfortunately, the training set were only males. So when they used it as a decision set, they rejected females. If somebody wrote that, that attended women's college, for example, it was automatically rejected because this neural network was not trained on this type of data. So that was pure mistake. Fortunately, it was 7 years ago. So I hope that's now much better. Okay, and maybe what should be said, transparency. To my understanding, this is the second part, data analytics. Should be transparency and responsible disclosure of what's going on there. So AI creators should be responsible and accountable what they are doing. Fortunately, this is happening a little bit, but I think it's still not in the proper scale. So these are more the same, repeating, as I mentioned, these 3 groups. And my last slide is what can we do? Education. People should be aware what's going on. But secondly, I think there are different codes of ethics. I'm over code of ethics, and the adoption should be, first of all, by AI creator, but then also on the level of the company, which will be discussed, I'm pretty sure, in the panel. I would say that there's very, very old test, what is ethical, what is unethical. So if you talk to your customer and you present some product, some service, some computer program, some system, the ethical test is, let's change the role. If you will be on the other side, would you be happy if somebody presents such a product to you, if you know what this product is doing? If you are not happy, this would be unethical, simply. So thank you very much, and I hope that we can work together on introducing these ethical principles. Thank you very much.
Resilience, maturity, talents, growth, innovation. The change made us stronger. This all made us sustainable. ABSL Summit. Beyond tomorrow. Building a sustainable future.